Nigeria Info, and it's time to look at the stories making it to the front of the pages of the newspapers today. On the Morning Crossfire, we call this the front pages. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadry. Achike Chude joins us right now on the show. Achike, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, we have the papers on the table already. This day is here, The Nation is here, Daily Trust is here as well, and a Blueprint newspaper.
And I've got here The Guardian, our media partner, The Daily Sun. We have The Daily Independent. The Oracle is also here, and The Vanguard newspaper. All of these we'll be looking at in the next 30 minutes. So you can watch us live on Facebook, on YouTube, also Nigeria Info FM. You can also leave us your comment on Twitter right there at Nigeria Info FM. Make sure you're following us and turn on your notification so you can always know when we're live. Let's kick start with the story on the front page of The Guardian. Federal government accuses El Zazaki of displaying ulterior motives as Shiite leader alleges maltreatment in India. The story is also here. Banner headline of the Daily Sun. India threatens to send El Zazaki back. Federal government explains Shiite leader's medical saga. Ayman leader says my life is in danger. Front page also of the Daily Independent. El Zazaki not safe in India. Shiites lament. Ayman leader vows not to be treated by strange doctor. Says situation in India is worse and may return to Nigeria. He's demanding to be checked into a 5-star hotel. That's coming from the federal government. And the story also makes it to the front page of the Vanguard today. Banner headline, Kirikiri prison is better than this Indian hospital, says El Zazaki. Seeks return home, rejects treatment from unknown doctors. Hospital backpedals, begins treatment. El Zazaki is misbehaving in India. Federal government says he wants to check into a 5-star hotel. You find these headlines all on the front page of the Vanguard.
From the front page of this day newspaper, after initial hiccups, El Zazaki commences treatment in India. Riders decries tight security in hospital. FG, he breached his bail conditions. This day newspaper. Moving on now to The Nation newspaper. Government Shiites clash over Zakzaki. The Nation for you from Daily Trust. Zakzaki FG bicker over Indian treatment. Riders, why I am not comfortable. I am a leader. He wants to stay in 5-star hotel. Permsec. Indian government reacts. Daily Trust newspaper. Banner headline from the Blueprint. Zakzaki gets ultimatum. Be treated or return home. Indian government. Riders medical trip, another detention. Ayman leader speaking. He wants VIP treatment. Orders not granted by court. FG reacting. Will solve all issues. IHRC.
Achike.
Yeah, well, I think we should discount, for now, take it with a pinch of salt, the statement that he wants to stay in a 5-star hotel. That is from the federal government. We don't know. As Zaki has not and his people have not said that they want to stay in a 5-star hotel. So we take that with a pinch of salt. Obviously, I don't know at what point the decision to use a particular hospital or this hospital was made. But I think that since Zaki and his people are taking care of his medical bills, that the choice of hospital should have been decided upon by him. And then again, the choice of the medical personnel to treat him should also be his prerogative and not that of the federal government that he has issues with.
Right.
And so I don't know why they are in this. Obviously, there was no agreement as to the choice of hospital and the medical personnel.
Well, there was an agreement with the choice of hospital. In fact, the court order mentioned the name of the hospital. But El Zazaki was saying, I had conversations with some doctors who already know my history. I don't know these doctors, and I want those ones.
Good. Well, the issue is if that was mentioned by the courts, just like you have said, I'm not even aware of that. Then I think Zazaki has no say on that, because we have excoriated the government before now, or especially the government of Kaduna State, for not wanting to adhere to the rulings of the court.
Right.
100%. And so at the same time, if the court has also made a decision that they should be treated in this other court, in this hospital, then definitely that should also be adhered to, because they say what is good for the goose is good for the gander. You cannot have separate laws for the same kind of incidents. And but again, that of the choice of doctor, I think, is absolutely his prerogative. And
Right.
I agreed. At least the good thing is that they have also made that concession that he should be entitled to his doctor. It's a very personal thing. The doctors have his history and all of that.
Right.
But as for the other surrounding issues, issue of security, yes, security has to be tight because he's still under government custody.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I do
And
not
he
have
has
any
a case
problem
to
with
answer.
that. Yes, as long as they do not impede on his treatment.
Moving on now quickly. Presidency suspends SPIP chair Obona Obla. That's the front page of the Nation newspaper. Similar headline from the front page of This Day newspaper. Presidency suspends Obona Obla, faces ICPC investigation. Obona Obla was in charge of asset recovery for the federal government, a committee specially set up by the president himself.
Yeah, obviously there were issues even with his supervision of that committee, and the fact that they felt that he had acted beyond his powers, his purview. That's one. But beyond that, again, there are other issues, sundry, allegations against him, allegation of certificate forgery, and that is as old as the certificate forgery involving the scandal, involving the NYC scandal involving Kemi Adeosun. His
Right.
name had popped up at that particular point in time.
Right.
But obviously, everything was done to keep it hidden. But it is good that the ICPC is investigating the matter, and we are told that a recommendation has been made for action to be taken against him, possible, prosecution for the false declaration, and then some of the other sundry allegations that have been leveled against him. It would appear that there is a lot of substance in the allegations that have been made, against him.
Some would say that the president acted very swiftly in this case. Remember, the former aide of the president that was accused. I think I can't remember, exactly his portfolio now. The president took a while to act on that particular development.
Yeah,
Let me read this
okay.
to you from page 10 of the Vanguard. So Bonobla has something to say. He's had recently alleged that some highly placed people in the government had been plotting to remove him as chairman of the Asset Recovery Panel because of his refusal to drop investigation of corrupt practices against them. He specifically alleged that the Deputy Chief of Staff, Office of the Vice President, had in January written to him asking him to stop all investigations his panel was handling as the government was going to embark on reform of the panel. He also claimed that some interest groups in government had pressurized his panel to drop investigations bordering on corruption issues that involve some members of the ruling party. So he's practically saying it's a witch hunt.
Well, a house divided against itself, we are told, will not stand. And obviously, he is still in the ruling government party. And you want to look at what is going on to him, with him, as an attempt by the presidency, just like Sheriff has said, has tried to imply, to clean up the audience table. But you now see somebody who is in a privileged position, and the presidency also making, taking pot shots at certain people within the presidency, also accusing these people within the presidency of corruption. So it gives you an idea.
But
of
you
what is
you
also
put
going
someone
on.
in place
Yeah.
to investigate corruption,
Right.
and then you ask him not to investigate some. What does that tell us?
His allegation anyway. His
Yes, his
allegation.
allegation.
But the reality is that all is not well. That is the impression we have. That there is something that is amiss. There is something going on, and whatever it is that is going on at the presidency is not unhealthy. It's not healthy.
Again, this brings to the fore that particular call by the opposition, most especially that the president should sanitize his home first.
Well, charity begins at home. We all know that, and this has been a recurring decimal in this administration. Look, we are all Nigerians. It's our country. We are all interested in what happens in this country, and we have an idea of the kind of temperament and and the character of the political class in this country. We know how a lot of them got to power, and we know how they consolidate on power, and there are all kinds of malpractices being perpetrated by them, whether by members of the opposition or those already in government.
Right.
And so there have been so much allegations about certain people in government, and that is why today the issue of the war against corruption, when you talk about it, people just dismiss it with a wave of hand, and they tell you and they insist that there is no war on corruption, that if there is anybody that has been punished, it is simply because these people are the scapegoats.
They're not playing the game.
Exactly.
It's mostly people will
yes.
have alleged that the corruption fight has been one-sided, and if you cross over to the other side,
No,
you're just fine.
It has been. There is no doubt about that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like people would argue even during the Obasanjo presidency, and people also made this accusation against Obasanjo then. But the argument that ultimately at the end of the day was fine. Maybe it is one-sided, but let it go on. If they have found something against them, no wahala. But the reality is that when you show this level of discrimination, it is also an act of corruption in itself.
This headline jumps at you if you're looking at the front page of the Daily Independent, and it says, soldiers drag patient out of hospital, stab him to death. That's the headline here, banner headline. There are two riders here, shoot another to death in Ogun. No one was killed by our patrol team, says Army. The story also makes it to the front page of the Vanguard. Isheri Day tragedy. Soldiers kill 2, injure others, as Ogun CP orders investigation into killing. That's on the front page of the Vanguard.
Similar headline from the Nation newspaper, from This Day, from Daily Trust. It's a big story.
Let me read it out on the Daily Independent. Some soldiers believed to have come from Ikeja cantonment in Lagos but posted to Kara Market along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway have been accused of dragging a patient out of medical facility in Ogun State before stabbing him to death on Tuesday. The Ogun State Police Public Relations Officer Abimbola Oyeyemi, in a statement made available to journalists in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, on Wednesday, revealed that one Damilare Adelani had earlier been killed by the same soldiers. Let's see, the story continues on page 11. Says that was during the annual Isheri Day festival. The PPR said the officers, numbering 4, had abandoned their beats and gone to Isheri Olofin, a border town between Lagos and Ogun State, where they had minor disagreements with some youth celebrating the Isheri Day festival. Move this on. According to the statement, Adelani was hit by a bullet and died on the spot, while 3 other civilians and a soldier were also injured in the protest. The officers were reported to have quickly rushed their injured colleague to a private hospital, where they met the only doctor on duty attending to one of the civilians injured during the issue with the military men. So the doctor, it was alleged, was ordered to leave the patient and attend to their colleague at gunpoint, after which the victim was dragged out of the hospital bed and stabbed to death.
Yeah, again,
if this is as horrific
this is
as this account
again, more back and forth, more bickerings, more accusations and counter accusations between the police and the army, obviously stemming from the killings of those policemen in cold blood in Taraba State.
Right.
The reality is that this is the reason why we have always said that the military should, as much as possible, be confined to their major role, which is the territorial, protection, of the country's, the protection of the country's territorial integrity and the repulsion of external aggression. That is their primary responsibility. In a tenuous security environment like we have today, it is inevitable sometimes that the soldiers might be involved in internal security operations, but that has to be supervised by the Nigerian police, because that is their common.
And only when they are invited by the police.
So the lead security agency,
which would not even happen.
Yeah, so the lead security agency in this instance for internal resolutions of internal security issues should be the police. And so when you have soldiers on whatever patrol, or you must have some elements of the Nigerian police there.
Why are soldiers patrolling?
So this is the issue.
Okay, let me read to you what the 81 Division of the Nigerian Army said. They said that no one was killed by its patrol team. I'm wondering why they had a patrol team in the first place, but they said no one was killed by its patrol team at Isheri Olofin. The Army spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Olaoluwa Daudu, made a clarification in a statement that there was no firing by the soldiers on the patrol, and he says rather The division hereby states that the patrol team, in response to a distress call, made a prompt intervention to forestall. Excuse me, distress call from whom?
Yeah, and where
from the police?
Yeah, and where was that army unit? That the people that were involved,
that team
at that particular point in time.
Why does the army have a patrol team?
Why they received the distress call, and where was the police, and where is the closest police station to that particular situation? That's one. What we want to ask yourself. And then I know they used to have an arrangement in Lagos State, Operation Mesa, involving combination, combined force of the military, the navy, I think maybe Air Force, and then the police. The police integral. It's important that the police is part of that. So they had that at a time. Obviously, this is not part of that arrangement.
Right.
But then again, you ask yourself first why they receive a distress call. They got in there. But beyond that, again, is the fact that we know the soldiers. We know how they conduct themselves, especially when there's an act of aggression against their personnel. The tendency for reprisal is always exceedingly high.
Right.
They are not going to injure soldiers, and then the soldiers will just leave it at that. In most cases, this is what we have seen.
Which is why
is attacked. But beyond
they
that,
shouldn't even be involved in civilian matters.
Yeah, but beyond that, again, is the fact that over time, there seems to be an increasing involvement of police the army in civilian life.
Could it have been because the police is overwhelmed?
With
it is
what?
Not for this particular incident. Look,
with the Sherry boys clashing.
When we had the Metasine riot in the late 70s, it was a police action at a particular point in time. It was their duty. It was only at that moment when it was clear that they were overwhelmed and they could no longer contain the situation that the army was invited.
And
this is a purely civil issue. You understand?
Unless the police invited the military, they have no business being there.
So where did they get? How come the army got a distress call and not the police? Because that is a standard situation. But again, like I said, when a crime goes unpunished, the heart of the people is filled with rebellion. We saw an instance, and we're telling Nigerians, you don't allow these things to just happen and then you keep quiet over it. That's why we have Taraba. When the Shia thing first happened, and 347 people were killed. A whopping 377 people were killed, 47 people were killed in one day. It was a national scandal. It was supposed to be an international scandal.
I can't get it out of my head.
Up to today,
no one thinks it's an issue.
Is being arraigned. No wahala with that. If there's an issue, I mean, if there's evidence against him, by all means, take him to court, prosecute him, and convict him if it is absolutely necessary, if there's ground for that. But up to today, we have not been told that people who were responsible for the massacre of 347 people who were not armed, have been punished. And so that is why I said that when a crime goes unpunished, the heart of people is filled with rebellion. That is why today you are now seeing the army act in ways that are inconsistent even with the rules of engagement and with the laws of this country.
I have a nightmare every time I remember the number of people that were killed. I mean, just shot.
It was an atrocity. It was an atrocity. There's no doubt about that. And nobody is talking about it.
Nothing at all. Well, let's see another story here. We could just go on and on with this. It's a very emotional story. But on the front page also of the Daily Independent, food security, you are out of touch. Ezekwesili tells Buhari Mohalu, fourth president, on directive to CBN. Also here on the Vanguard newspaper, this story reads, Forex ban on food imports will cost jobs and force businesses out, says NECA.
From the front page of this day newspaper, stakeholders seek clarifications on Forex ban for food imports. The rider man, LCCI, others caution FG. This day newspaper for you. Looking at the Nation front page right now, Nigeria to save $20 billion from food imports ban. That's coming from, again, the way we just write headlines, really. Rotimi always says that. Nobody is banning food imports, really. But, that's how the Nation has the headline. Nigeria to save $20 billion from food import ban. The Nation for you. From Daily Trust newspaper,
Food
Nigeria. Nigeria spent 40 trillion naira on food imports in 21 years. That's from Daily Trust. Nigeria spent 40 trillion naira on food imports in 21 years. And from Blueprint newspaper, be strategic. Experts caution Buhari on food sufficiency claim.
This is our next topic for the next 1 hour from 8
Right.
to 9. But
Right.
Achike, quickly on this one.
Yeah, well, nobody will fault the government for wanting to achieve food sufficiency in the country and to save much needed foreign exchange. Nobody will fault the government, but that's why people are saying, look, you need to be strategic. The reality is, I mean, there are claims that the president has made actually that are not verifiable. They need to verify these things with statistics and records that Nigeria has achieved food sufficiency. That is not exactly true when you break it down. But beyond that is the fact that again, some manufacturers, well, you see, when a government makes a pronouncement like this, first of all, I quarrel a little bit with directives being issued to the CBN that is supposed to be autonomous.
Right.
Now, there could be an economic policy that with regards to food production and all of that. It is the government and through the Ministry of Finance and those managing the economy working silently behind the scenes to achieve some of these issues and not to make it public. And even if you have made it public in this manner,
Right.
you should be specific what food items are being banned, because all over the country, if you go to most of the mighty departmental stores you have, a lot of them are run by foreigners. For instance, you have all kinds of food items, packaged food items in cans and all of them on their shelves. Which of these items are affected? And besides, some of the manufacturers have said that their business of manufacturing is dependent on certain food components
Right.
that is used for
Right.
their own manufacture also.
Right.
So you also have to take that one into consideration.
But
But
remember
beyond
that
that,
the government has not banned importation.
No.
Of food. They've only said, CBN, don't give any of our
It's just a
foreign.
restriction.
It's a technical way. I mean, it's if they don't give you money, then you try and look for other
You
ways
have
and
to
so on.
source
Yeah, exactly.
ways.
So I mean, the clarification is also good. But beyond that, also is the fact that if the driving philosophy for this is to conserve much needed foreign exchange.
Yeah.
Look at that sector of the economy that takes the maximum foreign exchange from this
Top
country.
on the list.
You understand? Top of the
Always top on the
list. You know, which has very serious economic consequences for the country.
Right.
Positively in the sense that you conserve so much foreign exchange. That is the issue of the area of the importation of refined crude oil.
Number one.
It is number one. It is clear. And so you ask yourself, what exactly
And we
is
have the
government's
oil.
destination? We have the oil here. We have the refineries that they have been unable or refused to fix after having told us that they were going to do it. If you remember, the first 6 months of the coming to of this government coming to administration, first time out,
Right.
we were being told the Minister of State in the Ministry of Petroleum, what's his name?
Ibe Kachuku.
Ibe Kachuku kept on giving us data on the completion rate on the job, how far they have gone.
Right.
We have done 30% at the Port Harcourt refinery. We have done 50% in Kaduna refinery. We have done 70% in Warri refinery. After about 2 years, mischievously, the whole thing ended. Nobody talks about it up to today. And today, we have increased, importation of refined petroleum products. And then again, the Hydra-headed monster has reared its head again. The issue of subsidy.
Right.
Now everybody is talking about subsidy once more.
Well,
I mean, there seems to be no end to some of the contradictions in the country.
That's right. Go check out some other headlines on the papers today. You might find this interesting. Civil society groups stage hashtag Free Shiwore protests in Abuja. Also here, you see stories about the family of slain policemen demanding justice. You find the picture here with a press briefing with the family there. But we must go now. Thank you all for joining the front pages. Achike Chude, thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
After the break, we're talking on this last story, which is the president's directive to the CBN to stop giving forex for the importation of food. Bola Olajede will be here as an economic analyst. We also have Sipasi Lalekon here as a developmental agriculturist. We also have Adeton Olaniyo. She's a farmer. So they'll all be joining us on the show. And you will be here also. We'll see you again just in a moment. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadry.